When HOA President Karen Williams walked into Judge Judy's courtroom, demanding $2.3 million from McDonald's for making her too addicted to Big Macs, she thought she had the perfect victim story. She had her fake tears ready, her dramatic weight gain photos, and a lawyer who promised her an easy payday. But what Karen didn't know was that Judge Judy had already seen the McDonald's security footage. Hours and hours of Karen ordering not one, not two, but 4 complete meals at a time, sometimes visiting 3 different locations in a single day, and screaming at teenage employees when they suggested maybe she'd had enough. Judge Judy had the receipts, literally thousands of them, showing Karen spent over $47,000 at McDonald's in just 8 months. But the most devastating evidence was the secret recording Karen's own neighbor had made, capturing her bragging about how she was going to milk McDonald's for millions while eating a Big Mac during the conversation. Before we dive into this incredible case, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing where my viewers are around the world. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss more unbelievable cases like this one. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. What happened next wasn't just a legal smackdown. It was a complete and total destruction that left Karen sobbing, her lawyer speechless, and the entire internet cheering for justice. Judge Judy didn't just dismiss the case. She delivered a single sentence so savage, so perfectly brutal, that it ended Karen's reign of terror forever and turned her into the most hated woman in America overnight. This moment sparked a national celebration and went viral for all the right reasons. Because sometimes, just sometimes, entitled people get exactly what they deserve. If you're ready to see the most satisfying takedown of entitled behavior ever caught on camera, smash that like button right now. This story will make you believe in justice again, and trust me, you're going to want to watch every single second of Karen's complete humiliation. Karen Williams wasn't just any ordinary complainant. She was the kind of HOA president that made grown men consider moving to different states. For 3 years, she had ruled Maple Ridge estates like a petty dictator, issuing violation notices for everything from lawn grass being 1 inch too tall to children's chalk drawings on their own driveways. She had personally filed 47 separate complaints in the past year alone, including citing an elderly veteran for his unapproved wheelchair ramp and threatening to fine a family whose toddler's birthday balloons were deemed visual pollution. But Karen's real obsession wasn't rule enforcement. It was McDonald's. Every single morning at exactly 9:37 a.m., Karen's silver BMW would pull into the McDonald's parking lot on Elm Street. She had a routine that the teenage employees knew by heart. 2 Big Mac meals, large fries, large Coke, apple pie, and chicken nuggets. But that was just breakfast. She'd return for lunch, ordering the same thing again, plus a McFlurry. Dinner meant a 3rd visit, this time adding fish fillets and extra burgers. The employees started calling her the 4-meal lady behind her back, watching in disbelief as this tiny woman consumed enough food to feed a family of 6, 3 times a day. Sarah Martinez, the morning shift manager, later testified that Karen would become violently angry if they were out of Big Mac sauce, once screaming so loudly that other customers left the restaurant. "She threw her purse at me because we ran out of apple pies," Sarah recalled, her voice shaking. She said McDonald's was ruining her life by not having enough food ready. But Karen had a plan brewing in her twisted mind, one that would make her McDonald's obsession profitable. The lawsuit she filed claimed that McDonald's had deliberately targeted her with addictive ingredients, knowing she had an addictive personality and exploiting her weakness for profit. Her legal documents, filed by ambulance-chasing attorney Rick Morrison, painted Karen as an innocent victim of corporate greed. She claimed the restaurant chain had scientifically engineered their food to create dependency, causing her to gain 83 pounds and suffer severe emotional distress. The demanded compensation was staggering: $2.3 million for pain and suffering, another $500,000 for medical expenses, a lifetime ban on McDonald's advertising in her neighborhood, and mandatory addiction warnings on all McDonald's packaging. But the truth about Karen's McDonald's habit was far more disturbing than anyone realized. Security cameras had captured her visiting not just one location, but rotating between 4 different McDonald's restaurants throughout the day. She would drive to the Elm Street location for breakfast, hit the downtown branch for lunch, swing by the mall location for her afternoon snack, and finish at the highway McDonald's for dinner. When one location would recognize her and suggest she might want to slow down, she'd simply drive to another one. She had developed elaborate lies for each staff, telling them she was buying food for her sick mother, her office workers, or homeless people. In reality, she was consuming every single item herself, often eating in her car in empty parking lots to hide the evidence. The most shocking revelation came from her own HOA meeting minutes, where Karen had bragged to other board members about her foolproof plan to retire early. She had told them, with a straight face that she was going to gain as much weight as possible eating McDonald's, then sue them for millions claiming they had made her addicted. She called it the perfect victim strategy, and even suggested other HOA members try similar lawsuits against different fast food chains. One board member, disgusted by Karen's scheme, had secretly recorded that entire conversation on her phone. Rick Morrison, Karen's lawyer, had taken the case purely for the media attention, believing he could pressure McDonald's into a quick settlement to avoid bad publicity. He had no idea that his client was already infamous in her own community for her outrageous behavior and fraudulent schemes. Morrison had previously represented Karen in her failed lawsuit against her neighbor's wind chimes, her unsuccessful attempt to sue a local bakery for discriminatory birthday cake fonts, and her thrown-out case against the city for allowing children to play in public parks during her designated quiet hours. What neither Karen nor her lawyer realized was that McDonald's had been quietly building a case against her for months. Corporate security had flagged her excessive visits, documented her abusive behavior toward employees, and most damning of all, they had obtained that secret recording of her admitting the entire lawsuit was a premeditated scam. Judge Judy had seen it all before Karen even stepped foot in the courtroom, and she was ready to deliver justice that would be talked about for years. As word of Karen's lawsuit spread through Maple Ridge Estates, her neighbors couldn't believe what they were hearing. The same woman who had threatened to fine them for having their garbage cans visible from the street was now claiming to be a victim of corporate manipulation. Maria Santos, who lived next door to Karen, watched in disbelief as local news trucks pulled up to interview the brave woman taking on McDonald's. Maria knew the truth. She had watched Karen leave for McDonald's every morning like clockwork, returning hours later with multiple bags of food that she'd consume while writing violation notices for her neighbors. Karen spent weeks preparing for her moment of fame, rehearsing her victim story in front of her bathroom mirror. She practiced crying on cue, perfecting her trembling voice as she described how McDonald's had destroyed her life with addictive chemicals. She bought new clothes in larger sizes to emphasize her weight gain and even created a fake food diary, backdating entries to make it look like she had tried to resist the McDonald's addiction. Her performance was so convincing that several local news stations ran sympathetic stories about the David versus Goliath battle brewing. But while Karen was basking in the media attention, McDonald's corporate legal team was working around the clock. They had pulled security footage from all 4 locations Karen frequented, creating a devastating timeline that showed her true consumption patterns. The footage revealed Karen eating in her car immediately after ordering, then returning inside to order again, sometimes within the same hour. They documented her throwing tantrums when items were unavailable, her lies to different staff members, and most damning of all, her celebration dance in the parking lot after particularly large orders. Behind the scenes, something much bigger was happening. Judge Judy's production team had received an anonymous tip about Karen's real reputation in her community. They discovered her history of frivolous lawsuits, her tyrannical HOA leadership, and most importantly, they obtained that secret recording from the HOA meeting, where Karen had outlined her entire scam. Judge Judy herself had personally reviewed every piece of evidence, and she was furious. This wasn't just about a frivolous lawsuit anymore. This was about a woman who had built her entire life around manipulating and bullying others, and Judge Judy was about to end it. The night before the trial, Karen sat in her bedroom surrounded by boxes of McDonald's receipts she planned to use as evidence of her victimization. She had no idea that those same receipts would become the weapon used to destroy her. $47,000 spent in 8 months, sometimes $300 in a single day across multiple locations. She smiled to herself, convinced she was about to become a millionaire. Her lawyer, Rick Morrison, was equally confident, having prepared dramatic opening statements about corporate responsibility and victim rights. Neither Karen nor her lawyer knew that Judge Judy had already made her decision. The evidence was overwhelming, the fraud was obvious, and the justice would be swift and brutal. As Karen laid out her outfit for the next day, practicing her victim face one last time, Judge Judy was preparing to deliver a verbal destruction so complete, so devastating, that it would end Karen's reign of terror forever. The stage was set for the most satisfying courtroom takedown in television history. The courtroom was packed beyond capacity, with cameras rolling and spectators whispering in anticipation. Karen Williams strutted in wearing her carefully selected victim outfit, a loose-fitting dress meant to emphasize her weight gain, clutching tissues she planned to use during her tearful testimony. She nodded confidently at the cameras, completely unaware that she was walking into a trap that would destroy her life in the next 10 minutes. Judge Judy entered with her trademark stern expression, but those who knew her well could see something different in her eyes today. This wasn't just another case. This was personal. She had spent the previous evening reviewing every piece of evidence, and what she had seen had disgusted her to her core. As she took her seat, Karen smiled and waved at the gallery, basking in what she thought was her moment of triumph. Rick Morrison, Karen's lawyer, stood up with dramatic flair and began his opening statement. Your Honor, my client is the victim of corporate manipulation and predatory marketing. McDonald's deliberately targeted her with addictive ingredients. Knowing she had a vulnerable personality, Karen nodded along, dabbing her eyes with tissues as Morrison painted her as an innocent victim of big corporate America. The spectators seemed sympathetic, and Karen felt confident this was going exactly as planned. Judge Judy listened in silence, her expression growing darker with every word. When Morrison finished his theatrical performance, she looked directly at Karen with eyes that could cut steel. Ms. Williams, she said in a voice so calm it was terrifying, before we continue, I'd like to show you something. Judge Judy gestured to her bailiff, who wheeled in a large monitor. Karen's confident smile began to falter as she wondered what could possibly be on that screen. The first piece of footage began playing. Security camera footage from McDonald's, showing Karen ordering 4 complete meals, then immediately eating in her car before returning inside to order again. The timestamp showed this happening at 9:47 a.m., 10:53 a.m., and 11:31 a.m., all at the same location on the same day. Karen's face went white as she watched herself gorging on food with the enthusiasm of someone enjoying every single bite, not the desperate consumption of an unwilling addict. But Judge Judy wasn't finished. The second video started playing, and this time it was audio from Karen's own HOA meeting. Her voice filled the courtroom crystal clear. I'm going to gain as much weight as possible eating McDonald's, then sue them for millions. It's the perfect victim strategy. I'll claim they made me addicted and retire early off their settlement money. The courtroom gasped audibly. Karen's mouth fell open in horror as she heard her own words condemning her. Judge Judy stood up slowly, her eyes never leaving Karen's terrified face. The entire courtroom fell silent, waiting for the hammer to drop. When she spoke, her voice was steady, controlled, and absolutely devastating. Ms. Williams, McDonald's didn't make you addicted. Your greed, your entitlement, and your complete lack of moral character made you a con artist. You're not a victim. You're a predator who tried to steal millions of dollars through fraud. Case dismissed, and you will pay McDonald's entire legal fees, which total $45,000. The courtroom erupted. Karen collapsed into her chair, hyperventilating as the reality of her situation crashed down on her. Her lawyer sat frozen, knowing his career had just taken a massive hit. But Judge Judy wasn't done. She leaned forward and delivered the final blow that would haunt Karen forever. And Ms. Williams, I'm forwarding this evidence to the district attorney for potential fraud charges. Court officers, please escort this con artist out of my courtroom. If you're loving this absolute destruction of entitled behavior, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Judge Judy just delivered the most savage takedown we've ever seen, but the fallout is about to get even more intense. Within 15 minutes of Judge Judy's devastating ruling, the courtroom footage was already spreading across social media like wildfire. The clip of Karen's confident entrance, followed immediately by her complete meltdown, became the most shared video of the year. TikTok exploded with reaction videos, memes of Karen's horrified face flooded Twitter, and Instagram influencers were creating content about the most satisfying takedown ever filmed. The hashtag #CarenVias McDonald's was trending worldwide within the hour, with millions of people celebrating the destruction of entitled behavior. Back at Maple Ridge Estates, Karen's neighbors were glued to their phones, watching their tyrannical HOA president get obliterated on national television. Maria Santos, who had endured 3 years of Karen's harassment, broke down crying tears of joy as she watched the woman who had made her life miserable face real consequences for the first time. Within 2 hours of the verdict, an emergency HOA board meeting was called. The vote was unanimous and swift. Karen Williams was immediately removed from her position as president, effective immediately. Her 3 years of terrorizing the neighborhood were officially over. The media reaction was unlike anything anyone had seen before. CNN legal analysts praised Judge Judy's handling of the case, calling it a masterclass in exposing fraud. Fox News ran the story as their lead segment, with hosts celebrating the victory against frivolous litigation. Even late-night talk show hosts were dedicating entire segments to Karen's humiliation, with Jimmy Fallon creating a top 10 list of Karen's worst HOA violations and Stephen Colbert doing a spot-on impression of her fake crying in court. But the real explosion happened when McDonald's released their official statement. Instead of gloating or attacking Karen, they took the high road with a response that made the internet love them even more. We believe in personal responsibility and healthy choices. We're grateful to Judge Judy for seeing through this fraudulent claim and protecting businesses from predatory lawsuits. The $45,000 we'll receive from Ms. Williams will be donated to childhood nutrition programs in underserved communities. The statement went viral instantly, with thousands of people praising McDonald's class and dignity and victory. Meanwhile, Karen's world was collapsing in real time. Her real estate office, embarrassed by the national attention, fired her immediately via email, while she was still sitting in the courthouse parking lot. Her professional license was under review by the state board after colleagues complained about her bringing shame to the industry. Her own children, mortified by their mother's behavior, posted statements on their social media accounts distancing themselves from her actions. Her daughter's post read, "I am horrified and embarrassed by my mother's behavior. This does not represent our family's values, and I do not support her fraudulent lawsuit in any way." The legal consequences kept piling up. Not only did Karen owe McDonald's $45,000 in legal fees, but the district attorney's office announced they were launching a formal investigation into fraud charges. Legal experts on every major network explained how Karen could face up to 5 years in prison if convicted of attempted fraud. Her lawyer, Rick Morrison, was facing his own professional crisis as the State Bar Association opened an ethics investigation into whether he had properly vetted his client's claims before filing the lawsuit. Perhaps most devastating of all was the discovery of Karen's other pending lawsuits. She had active cases against 3 other local businesses, all claiming various forms of discrimination or harm. Her bakery lawsuit, claiming emotional distress from birthday cake font discrimination, was thrown out within hours of the Judge Judy verdict. Her case against the city for allowing excessive child noise in public parks was dismissed the same day. Every judge in the county now knew exactly who Karen Williams was, and none of them wanted to waste court time on her manufactured grievances. The internet had turned Karen into the most hated woman in America practically overnight. Her address had been discovered and shared online, forcing her to hire private security as protesters gathered outside her house. Signs reading "Justice for McDonald's" and "Karen got served" lined her street. Local news stations camped outside her home, hoping to catch a glimpse of the woman who had become the face of frivolous litigation gone wrong. Karen Williams had wanted fame and fortune from her lawsuit. Instead, she got infamy and financial ruin, and America was absolutely loving every second of her downfall. At the McDonald's on Elm Street, 18-year-old Sarah Martinez was finally able to smile at work for the first time in months. For over a year, Karen had made her shifts a living nightmare, screaming at her for everything from ice machine malfunctions to French fry temperatures. "I used to cry in the storage room after she left," Sarah told reporters. "She made me feel worthless. Today I feel vindicated. She can never hurt me or my co-workers again." In Maple Ridge Estates, retired veteran Harold Thompson sat on his porch for the first time in 3 years, without fear of receiving a violation notice. Karen had harassed him constantly about his wheelchair ramp, calling it an eyesore and threatening daily fines. His wife Margaret cried as she watched the verdict. "He served this country and lost his leg for our freedom, and she tortured him for needing a ramp to get into his own home. Today feels like justice." 7-year-old Emma Rodriguez finally got to draw chalk rainbows on her driveway again. Her mother, Patricia, had forbidden any chalk art after Karen issued multiple violation notices for defacing HOA property with unauthorized children's markings. Emma's rainbow drawing, complete with the words "Bad Lady Gone," became a symbol of childhood freedom restored throughout the neighborhood. 6 months after Judge Judy's devastating verdict, Karen Williams had completely vanished from public life. Her house in Maple Ridge Estates sat empty with a "for sale" sign that had attracted 0 buyers, once word spread about its infamous former owner. She had quietly moved to a small apartment 3 states away. Her social media accounts deleted, her real estate career destroyed, and her reputation permanently ruined. The $45,000 judgment had forced her into bankruptcy, and the criminal fraud investigation was still pending. Karen Williams had gotten exactly what she deserved, and America had moved on without giving her a second thought. But the positive impact of her downfall continued to ripple through the community. Maple Ridge Estates elected a new HOA board that immediately repealed every one of Karen's ridiculous rules. Children could play freely, veterans could maintain their accessibility ramps without harassment, and neighbors could actually enjoy their homes without fear of petty violations. The McDonald's on Elm Street became a symbol of worker dignity, with corporate headquarters sending a plaque recognizing the staff for their professionalism under difficult circumstances. Judge Judy's handling of the case became a landmark moment in television history and legal education. Law schools began showing the footage as an example of how to properly handle fraudulent claims, and other judges started citing the case when dismissing similar frivolous lawsuits. The clip of Judge Judy's savage takedown was viewed over 200 million times across all platforms, making it one of the most watched legal moments ever recorded. Most importantly, Karen's spectacular failure sent a message that resonated across the entire country. Entitled behavior would no longer be tolerated. Frivolous lawsuits would be exposed and punished. People who abused their power to terrorize others would face real consequences. The age of the tyrannical HOA president, the predatory lawsuit filer, and the professional victim was coming to an end, one savage judicial takedown at a time. McDonald's donation of the $45,000 to childhood nutrition programs helped feed over 3,000 underprivileged children, turning Karen's greed into something beautiful and meaningful. The irony was perfect. The woman who had tried to steal millions through fake victimhood had instead provided meals for children who actually needed help. In the end, Judge Judy's final words about Karen proved prophetic. Some people think they can lie and cheat their way to success, but the truth always wins. Karen had spent years terrorizing innocent people, filing fraudulent lawsuits and believing she was smarter than everyone else, but justice caught up with her in the most public, humiliating way possible, and the world was better for it. If this story of ultimate justice and accountability moved you, smash that like button and share this video with someone who needs to see that actions have consequences. Hit subscribe for more stories where entitled behavior gets completely destroyed by truth. And comment below which moment made you cheer the loudest. Let's remind the world that bullies don't win, liars get exposed, and sometimes, just sometimes, justice is absolutely perfect. The truth always wins, and Karen Williams learned that lesson the hardest way possible.